Hi everyone, we will start in a few moments just to let people join us. Okay, I think we can start. So hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I'm Catarina Duarte from the Center, and welcome to the Weekly Hour. Today we have the pleasure of hosting Maeve McGovern from NIVA, who will introduce and talk about the FutureLakes project. She will be joined by Lawrence Carvalho, also from NIVA, who will moderating the session. Let me just let you know that if you have any questions for our speakers, please use the Q&A box, and of course the question will be addressed at the end. I wish all a great session, and Lawrence, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Catarina. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm going to be moderating this session. It's about a 40-minute talk from Maeve, and then 10 to 15 minutes of questions at the end, which I'll moderate through the Q&A channel. Just to introduce you, Maeve is an early career scientist in the freshwater ecology section in the Norwegian Institute for Water Research. She's based up in Tromsø in the Arctic, and she completed her PhD about 3 years ago on the effects of terrestrial inputs on coastal food web carbon sources and on contamination in food webs. And that was focused on Svalbard in the high Arctic. Since then, she's done lots of other work in the freshwater ecology section and across catchment sections in the Norwegian Institute for Water Research. And then since September last year, she took on the role of being the project manager in FutureLakes, where she is also leading the European scale work on identifying priority lakes for restoration. So, Maeve, I just want to hand over to you now and let you tell everyone all about the project.
Great. Thank you, Lawrence. Yeah, I'm Maeve, and I work at NIVA, and today I will be introducing all of you to the FutureLakes project, which is a Horizon Europe innovation action for the mission Restore Our Oceans and Waters. And the project just started in October of last year, so we're in the early stages of the project, which is focused on delivering integrated innovations for the protection and restoration of European lakes. And the project is a part of the Horizon Mission Ocean European Natural Lakes demonstration of integrated approaches for protection and restoration of natural lake ecosystems and their biodiversity. And so it is part of 4 sister projects focused on this topic. But first, before we get into the details of the project, I thought we'd start with why we actually need lake restoration. So globally, climate change is impacting freshwater ecosystems and exacerbating water quality problems. In Europe, temperatures are rising at a rate about twice the global average, and these increases in temperature lead to increases in water temperature for freshwater and coastal ecosystems. In addition, climate change is leading to increases in extreme events like droughts and floods, leading to concerns for water quantity and quality. And here on the right, we see massive flooding in our FutureLakes demo basin, Lake Karla in Greece in 2023. And flooding has consequences for water quality by increasing the transport of pollutants, nutrients, and untreated sewage from the catchment to aquatic ecosystems. Freshwater ecosystems are thus facing a pollution crisis, with polluting nutrients contributing to reduced ecological status. Almost 50% of lakes in Europe fail to achieve good ecological and chemical status, with the main pressures being nutrient pollution from wastewaters and agriculture. And here we see some trends for EU lakes from 14 different countries for phytoplankton and macrophytes, where there's evidence for improvement for poor and bad status lakes, but no improvement and potentially even a small decline for high and good status lakes. So this suggests that we need to restore aquatic ecosystems, but perhaps we should also focus restoration measures on moderate lakes and take steps to prevent the deterioration of high and good status lakes as well. So lakes are one of the most threatened ecosystems on the planet, affected by over-abstraction, pollution, and climate change. And as a result of these issues, we're facing a global biodiversity crisis. And in Europe, over 25% of wetland and freshwater species are classified as endangered or near threatened. And freshwater ecosystems are also impacted by new emerging challenges, including emerging contaminants, for example, PFAS, which have been around for a little while now, but where data and policies are still really scarce. And we're only just beginning to understand their impact on ecosystems and human health. So with the many challenges facing European freshwaters and nearly 50% of European lakes failing to achieve good ecological and chemical status and minimal progress over the last decade, there's an urgency for transformative action. And this is where the European Green Deal and missions are the EU policy response to this need for action. So the Horizon Europe call that funded FutureLakes and those 3 other sister projects has a direct focus on supporting delivery of the EU mission Restore Our Ocean and Waters. And this EU mission aims to protect and restore the health of our ecosystems and inland waters through research and innovation, citizen engagement, and blue investments. And the 4 projects funded under this topic particularly focus on achieving the mission objective to protect and restore marine and freshwater ecosystems and biodiversity. In addition, a new EU nature restoration law recently went into force in August 2024. And the overarching EU target for this law is to restore at least 20% of EU land and sea area by 2023 and to restore all ecosystems in need of restoration by 2050. So it's very ambitious. Specific ecosystem targets include freshwater ecosystems and species, as well as their catchments. And under the governance framework, EU member states must create national restoration plans and contribute with monitoring and reporting. And these national restoration plans are due in 2026 and will be published in 2027, a timeline that matches almost exactly to the timeline of the FutureLakes project. And thus the FutureLakes project is really well suited to provide integrated innovations for lake restoration at a time when the EU member states are actively looking for nature restoration solutions for these national restoration plans. So FutureLakes aims to address the many threats facing freshwater ecosystems and provide timely results for helping member states meet ambitious EU targets. And the FutureLakes vision is a transformation in the success of lake restoration programs across Europe. By harnessing effective new technologies, fostering community engagement, and driving economic innovation, we aim to breathe new life into Europe's lakes and ensure thriving biodiversity and a sustainable future. So the FutureLakes consortium brings together 10 partners with complementary expertise required to integrate the socio-ecological and technological methodologies in the project. This includes Eridra in Italy, Semida in France, Duth in Thessaloniki in Greece, Del Torres and Wageningen University in the Netherlands, University of Warmia and Missouri in Ulsten in Poland, UKCAH in the UK, Sika in Finland, Aarhus in Denmark, and of course coordinated by NIVA here in Norway. So this is the NIVA management team. Lawrence Carvalho is the project coordinator. I'm the project manager, and Alexandra Mios is our project support. And the project management board, the decision-making body of the project, has representatives from all of the partner institutes, as well as the work package leads. So you'll see some of these faces again as I go through the work packages. So the Future Lakes project aims to transform current lake restoration practices using innovative technologies, public mobilization and governance, as well as local innovations in policy and financing. And we have 6 demo basins where we demonstrate how an integrated innovation approach with innovations across these different disciplines can lead to transformations in lake restoration, where good governance, enhanced implementation of policy can be achieved where you also have enhanced public engagement and industry engagement, as well as economic benefits, including carbon neutral and circular blue economies, can be achieved alongside and also contribute to improved ecological status and restored biodiversity. So we will be fine-tuning this integrative approach and preparing a roadmap that can be used for upscaling lake restoration and replication across the EU and in associated regions. And this integrated approach is central to how we're thinking within Future Lakes and how our work packages fit together and inform one another. So this integrated approach is central to the project. And here you see how we envision that these different disciplines are like cogs in the machine, contributing to a transformed demonstration of lake restoration that's needed for taking ecological status from high to good status and for restoring biodiversity while also providing societal benefits. So the project is organized into 7 work packages. We have innovation pilots in work package 1, public mobilization and new governance in work package 2, policy and financing in work package 3, demonstration sites in work package 4, and upscaling in work package 5. Those are the 5 we'll focus on today, with the work package 6 and 7 being communication and management. So work package 1 is led by the Finnish Environmental Institute, Syke, and it has 2 main objectives. First, to review the current and emerging solutions for lake restoration, and second, to actually pilot and demonstrate 10 innovative solutions, including nature-based solutions, circular blue economy solutions, and biodiversity-focused solutions. So for nature-based solutions, we have rainwater gardens in Loch Leven in the UK, water storage basins, buffer strips, and wetlands. And in the Loch Leven catchment, Future Lakes will investigate how rain gardens are slowing the overland flow during storm events, and their effectiveness will be assessed in terms of biodiversity improvements, water quality, especially nutrient pollution improvements, and reduced flood risk. And this is also part of a campaign to create over 10,000 rain gardens across Scotland. For circular blue economy solutions, the tested solutions in Future Lakes are algal harvesting and sediment phosphorus recovery. And in Lake Vesijärvi in Finland, algal harvesting both removes nutrients from the lake, and with links to the locality project, Future Lakes will pilot the connection to relevant industries, including sustainable food, aquafeed ingredients, agriculture, and textile products that can be formulated using algal biomass. And in Lake Ormstrup, FutureLakes is working on the removal of sediments with high legacy phosphorus concentrations with these automated machines that remove the surface layer of the sediment and looking into opportunities for recycling and reusing the phosphorus. And for biodiversity-based solutions, FutureLakes is working with nature-friendly shoreline protection and construction of islands using local sediment. And here in Lake Marker, the Marker Warden, a new group of islands was created, sculpted from sand, clay, and silt from the actual lake itself. And these islands almost immediately enhanced biodiversity, in addition to many birds, aquatic plants, and fish suddenly appeared after their construction. And the Marker Wadden has considerably increased the amount of habitats for a number of bird and fish species in Lake Marker, and it's also served as like a stepping stone to other nearby areas in the vicinity. So this was a solution for boosting biodiversity directly. Work package 2 within FutureLakes is focused on public mobilization, engagement, and lake governance. And the main objectives of the work package are to test and demonstrate improved systems for inclusive and effective engagement in lake basin management, and to demonstrate inclusive and inspirational approaches to public engagement and active mobilization. And it's led by Julia at NIVA. So in work package 2, at all 6 demo sites, we'll use citizen science activities to contribute to at least one of the 3 mission objectives: to reduce pollution, restore biodiversity, and measure the blue economy. And this is done using also PrEP for Blue resources. And work package 3 is led by Najla at Samida, the Euro-Mediterranean Information System on know-how on the water sector. And the objectives are to map out the policies and instruments that affect the implementation of restoration measures, to analyze the policy cohesion and identify the barriers and opportunities in regulation for scaling up nature-based and circular blue economy solutions, and to identify the main funding and financing mechanisms that are in place for supporting lake protection and restoration. And a key part of work package 3 is working with the financial instruments. In addition to mapping the policies for implementing restoration and working with policy coherence and integration, work package 3 also builds off of progress made within the Merlin project, which is a project focused on river restoration, for developing the financial instruments that enable restoration measures, including public grants, private financing, donations, payment for ecosystem services, and landscape enterprise networks. And so this is providing innovations on the financing side of restoration projects. Work package 4 is led by Sasha at Deltarius in the Netherlands. And this is our demonstration site work package, where our demo sites showcase the integration of the ecological, social, and economic systems for restoring lakes and their services. And we have 6 demo sites. These include Lake Karla in Greece, Lake Vesijärvi in Finland, Loch Leven in the UK, the Kartuzi Lakes in Poland, Von Sjö in Norway, and Lake Issel in the Netherlands. And these demo sites demonstrate the success of lake restoration, each having a gap analysis and optimization plan and plans for upscaling restoration at the basin level. They also are models for the FutureLakes blueprint where they provide an example of integrating the technical measures, public engagement, governance, policies, and financing for transformed lake restoration. So these bring everything together. And then Work Package 5 delivers and tests a roadmap for upscaling European lake restoration for the deployment and upscaling phase, which is from 2026 to 2030 of Mission Restore Our Ocean and Waters. And it focuses on two specific objectives. First, to identify lake basins where nature-based solutions and circular blue economy solutions are replicable and provide a pan-European priority action plan and roadmap to support the delivery of the mission upscaling phase. And second, to build capacity across 3 associated regions for replicating and upscaling innovative measures demonstrated in our project. And this is led by Brian Spears at UKCH in the UK. So a key part of Work Package 5 is creating a methodological framework for upscaling. And this framework will help EU member states identify lakes that do not meet biodiversity and water quality targets and socioeconomic needs. And once those lakes are identified, the relevant pressures are assessed and matched with the appropriate restoration method. So that is this upscaling methodological framework. And lakes will be then assessed for the suitability of nature-based solutions and circular blue economy solutions, and prioritized where additional benefits, like for example, the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions can be achieved. And this methodological framework will be upscaled to the EU scale and then also demonstrated in 3 associated regions. So this methodological framework for upscaling is the conceptual overview, and then also part of Work Package 5 is pairing it with the necessary data layers to carry it out. And so these data layers will be also stored in this metadatabase called the eLakes data portal, where it's layers related to data needed to evaluate ecological status, socioeconomic needs, pressures, suitability of different restoration techniques. And these will be available within our FutureLakes Digital Innovation Hub, as well as the Knowledge Hub, where you can also find information. It's like a library of resources for the FutureLakes results. So the FutureLakes project aims to address the water quality and biodiversity crisis in Europe by providing innovative solutions for lake restoration. Key project deliverables include demonstrating 10 innovation measures, representing proven solutions to combat nutrient pollution and restore biodiversity. 6 flagship demonstration basins that showcase the integration of innovations into lake basin management and the blue economy. Demonstrating that restoring lake water quality boosts both biodiversity and local economies. And 3 associated regions empowered to replicate the FutureLakes blueprint. Key exploitable results of the project include the roadmap for upscaling European lake restoration, aligned with the EU missions to restore our oceans and waters and adapt to climate change, and a prototype European Lakes Digital Innovation Hub, featuring the Knowledge Hub on lake restoration and also this eLakes data portal, which will be equipped with the essential data layers and tools for restoration planning. And then the FutureLakes blueprint, which can serve as a guide on the technical, social, and economic disciplines needed to protect and rejuvenate our lakes. And I also wanted to bring some attention to our open call to associated regions that is currently open until March 31st. And we will be selecting 3 associated regions from the countries shown in this map. So the EU countries and associated regions, but not ones where we have partners. So that's why it's not all European countries. And 3 different regions can receive up to 54,000 euros in the form of a grant to develop an action plan for restoring a natural lake in their region. And the purpose of this is to use the new knowledge and innovative solutions developed within the FutureLakes project. And the projects are expected to start by this September, the 30th of September, and last until the end of the FutureLakes project period, which is September 2027. So the deadline is March 31st, and we have more information available on our website. If you're interested, you should check it out. And yeah, I would like to invite you to visit our webpage to read more about the project and to follow us on our social media accounts. We're on LinkedIn and Blue Sky, and feel free to reach out. Thank you for joining, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thanks very much, Maeve, for a nice overview of the project. So can I suggest if people have some questions to type them in the Q&A box? I can't see any questions at the moment. So you can wait there, or I don't know whether people can unmute and ask the questions directly. Maybe Patricia and Katerina know that's possible.
Yes, it's possible if people can raise their hands and they can put the questions if they like. Okay. If they raise their hands, I can allow them to speak, to talk with you.
Okay. So, yeah, please either raise your hands or put the questions in the chat. I'll start then, Maeve, with a question. A loaded question, which I hope you can answer. But I just wondered if you could explain how the 4 sister projects are trying to work together on this.
Yes, so within several of the other sister projects, we all have this, several of us have these goals of upscaling, for example, and that we could work together on sharing data layers and approaches for how to upscale our different plans to the EU level. For example, with satellite data that's being collected in one of the other sister projects, that might be useful for FutureLakes. And we also hope to hold webinars to help share our results across the sister projects as well. So look for more webinars to look for, to learn more about results as they come out from the projects, because all of the projects are quite new. But going forward, we'll have more opportunities to share what we've finished.
Thanks, Maeve. Now we have got a couple of questions in. So first, I saw one came in the questions and answer from Sebastian Kopf, and his question, I don't know if you can read it, Maeve, but it's: Europe is a large region with many different lakes. Can you go a bit more into detail how you approach the differences that you will encounter?
Yes, that is very true, that Europe has variable lake ecosystems, but in one way, we're relying on, like, the Water Framework Directive, for example, that organizes lakes into different lake types, so that if we have an approach for a certain lake type, that could be upscaled to other lakes of that type. And we rely on data that's collected across all lakes, for example, through the Water Framework Directive or through the Birds Directive or the Habitat Directive, that have systematic ways of collecting data and reporting on them. And then when it comes to actual restoration techniques, different techniques would be relevant for different lake types. And so it's definitely relies on data related to the depth of the lake, the size of it, and also the history of, like, if what the specific problem is, like for if it's legacy phosphorus in the sediments or if it's catchment inputs that are causing the pollution, then different strategies would be recommended for restoration, if that answers your question.
I think it did. I think it answered it clearly. We've got a few more questions coming in the chat. So the first one is from Sarah Antunes from the University of Porto. And she says, the main ecosystems are only lakes or other inland. What about other inland waters such as rivers and reservoirs? Are they also target ecosystems?
So within our project, we're looking at natural lakes, but there's, like, for example, the Merlin project that's looking at rivers. And yeah, but here we're focused on natural lakes for the most part.
Yeah, Sarah, that was a requirement of the call. It's focused, all 4 projects are focused on natural lakes. So unfortunately, reservoirs aren't part of the any of the 4 projects under this call. Actually, there are some, as long as they were natural, were naturally lakes. I think they can be included if they're heavily modified water bodies. But yeah, check out Merlin, and I think there's another project called Waterlands, which focuses on wetlands as well. Next question, Marie Dominique, which I think she's talking about the call for associated regions, or why France is not included in that, Maeve.
Yeah, so for France, we actually have a partner within the FutureLakes project, Semida, that's located in France. So we can't, so that excludes France from the eligibility for the associated regions.
It excludes it just from our project. So if one of the other 3 projects doesn't have a French partner, then French regions can apply to one of their calls, because they'll have similar open calls. Proclean Lakes have one open now. The other 2, I think, in either late this year or even next year. The next question is from I hope if that doesn't answer your questions, please just put it in the chat or raise your hand. The next question is from Raluca Nicolai from an SME called GeoStud in Romania. Can a contributor write the associated region application for the authority?
Yeah, so the applying entity needs to be a local or regional authority, but they can subcontract a research institute, for example. But the application needs to come from the local or regional authority, but you can certainly help them write it.
Yeah, I think that's answered it. And we've got another 2 questions from Sebastian Kopp again in the Q&A panel. So the first one is, can you elaborate on the nature-based and circular economy solutions being demonstrated in the project? How do they differ from traditional lake restoration methods?
Yeah, so some of them are traditional lake restoration methods that can be used in a more innovative way. For example, harvesting algae. That's a pretty, I don't know if you'd say standard, but that's a pretty simple way to remove nutrients from the system if algae are causing algal blooms, for example. But then actually, like, recycling the algae and creating a circular blue economy solution from that is the innovation that we are piloting here. And then for the same for, like, the phosphorus removal, phosphorus removal is a more traditional restoration practice, but trying to find ways to recycle that phosphorus is where the innovation comes in.
No, I would probably add to that a bit and saying that, usually the first place is in traditional methods of reducing pollution from point sources like sewage works and whatever. But in terms of diffuse pollution from agriculture or combined sewage overflows, that really current solutions haven't tackled that problem, and we're not seeing, as Maeve pointed out, we're not seeing the improvements. And so that's why we're needing to look at new solutions to try and complement the traditional approaches, which don't seem to be having sufficient sort of causing sufficient progress. Got another question from Sebastian, I think, which is, how does the project plan to involve local communities and stakeholders? How does the project plan to involve local communities and stakeholders in the lake restoration process? Maybe from Celia, this question. Not quite sure.
Yes, so we have workshops with stakeholders. Several of the work packages are like co-developing their work with stakeholders. So for the upscaling plan, for example, we will have stakeholder workshops to talk about our approach with them and to co-develop that. And then for lake governance for work package 2, for example, they also have stakeholder workshops also at the demo site level. But I think this is maybe something that Lawrence could answer. He's working more directly with work package 2.
Yeah, well, maybe it comes to, there's a sort of add-on question, which I can maybe then it sort of answers both, which is, what role does public engagement play in the success of the project? I think it's a slightly difficult question to answer at the moment at the start of the project, but certainly we do consider public engagement and public behaviours and active role in lake management as being very important to sort of help transform restoration. And so that's why there is quite a lot of focus on public engagement activities and then getting the public involved in citizen science. And we're hoping that then that engagement more actively in citizen science for monitoring biodiversity or pollution or the way the lakes are being used for the blue economy. If they get more actively involved in that, then maybe they'll get more actively involved in sort of pushing for restoration or in the restoration and management actions. So it's difficult to say at the moment, but we do see it as a very important part, like the Mission Ocean does. As it's an important enabler for the Mission Ocean to achieve its objectives, and we do totally agree with that idea. Public actions and public behaviour have a very important part to play. I think that's it. We've got one more question, Maeve, in the chat from Sarah Antunes, again in Porto. What restoration methods based on MBS will be tested for extreme drought events, which are currently very frequent in Southern Europe? Do the project partners have this condition?
I do not think that we are working with nature-based solutions for drought. It's more the flooding that has been relevant for our sites. But I guess yeah, so I'm not sure what the answer to that would be. I know that we have these in addition to the gardens for dealing with flooding, we also have like water storage basins, but that is also for when there's excess water. But yeah, I mean, those nature-based solutions in a way would help with drought too, because they absorb water and would hold it for a time when it would be drier, if it was to be a lot of wet and then dry, wet and then dry. But I don't think we have any solutions that are specifically targeting drought that I know of.
Yeah, I'm not sure if any of the 10 innovation solutions are targeting a drought. We did have Iphigenia from our Greek case study, or demo basin, but she's unfortunately, I think she's just left. But she would be the best person to answer that in terms of what they're doing at Kala more generally, not in our project, but more generally. And I think they're not necessarily Iphigenia's group, but there is another EU project called SpongeWorks, where the same catchment is part of that, and that is about putting nature-based solutions in the catchment for that then act as sponges, so they can store water to help with drought mitigation, but they can also help with flood resilience as well. And that is an issue at Kala in Greece. It's both a drought and a flood issue extremes they have to deal with, and certainly water supply to Lake Kala is a big focus of their management plans, but I think it's not explicitly one of our innovations they're looking at. They're looking at sort of I think restoring more naturalized bank sides along Kala, but I am actually sure they're doing stuff in the catchment. It's just not a focus of our project. I think it's more SpongeWorks, this EU SpongeWorks project, which is focusing on those measures. So Sarah, have a look at that project. It's a really nice one, run out of Del Tares, I think. Okay. Oh, we've got one question. They keep coming. They keep coming up. So this one's from Sindre Langas, who you may know in NIVA in Norway. So lake restoration solutions sometimes require legal permissions, which may be time consuming to get. Does FutureLakes look into this matter? I'll let you answer that one.
So, I mean, I would say that that's a part of work package 3, that Najla is collecting information, mapping out all of the policies and those steps that hold back restoration measures, for an example. And I'm not sure about the time delay for legal permissions, but I would think that if that exists, it would be something that Najla is working on in work package 3.
Okay. No, I think that's right. I just we can add, Sindra, that nearly all the innovations we've looked at have been implemented already in FutureLakes. The only one that we're doing, so some of those phosphorus removals, the big circular economy ones, were actually just completed just before the start of the project, so we don't have to go through those legal issues, and we really are then just looking at evaluating the effectiveness of them and the circularity of the material produced. And the only one that is being implemented during the project lifetime is the algal harvesting in Vesiavi. So we don't have an issue with it with our project, but yeah, it's something I guess that will be evaluated in work package 3. Okay, I think that is all the questions we have. Quite a lot of questions. Yep, that's all them gone from the Q&A, and I think that's all of them in the chat. So I think then it's just up to me to sort of thank Maeve for her really nice, thorough presentation, and thank you all for joining us and learning a little bit more about the FutureLakes project. I don't know whether I should now hand back to Katarina, who maybe will say a bit more about the next upcoming meetings.
Yeah, thank you, Lawrence. Thank Maeve. Thank you, everyone. Stay tuned and don't miss the next week's weekly hour. Bye.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Bye. Thanks so much.